This old guy DIY video has to do with replacing the coils on a 1994 forced by a Mercury Outboard 40 horsepower motor. So I was hanging out with this hot chick I know around the 4th of July, and I was running her pontoon, and as we were headed back to shore, it just felt like the power dropped. And I have a little GPS app on my phone, so I checked and we were going 7 miles an hour. And on the way out to the particular area we had been in, we were going 12. So I thought, we just lost one cylinder. So when we got back to the dock, we just went and took care of stuff. A couple days later, I went down to the boat with a multimeter, and based on the troubleshooting, I believe I have a bad coil. So I was able to get these things from Amazon, 2 of them for 28 bucks delivered to the house. I don't know how you beat that for a 30-year-old boat, but right now I'm going to go install them. So after 40 years of screwing around with outboards, when the power suddenly drops, I suspect it's going to be a coil, and the coils are here, or the power pack. Well, the coils were so cheap, I decided I'll just replace them both. So here we go. The process starts with taking a little tiny 3/8 inch open end wrench and taking off the hot and the ground from each of the coils. And then I'll come over here and remove these nuts. Then I can withdraw the coils from the little coil pack. So the next thing I did was took off these 3 bolts. There's a third one that goes up here. You'll see the bottom one has 1 ground, this one has 2 grounds, that one has 3 grounds. So those things went through the steel plate here. That allows this whole coil pack assembly to just kind of fall loose. So now I'll finish removing the coil pack. And as you're doing this job, I suggest taking pictures so you remember what goes where. But in my case, we have a green and a ground on top. The green with white stripe is on the bottom. You can see the top coil goes to the top spark plug. So now I'm just going to pull these boots off the spark plugs. Since I'm standing in the water here, I'm just going to take this little assembly over to the dock and swap the coils out. There's one little boot down here that has a 20 amp fuse. So rather than pull that through and wiggle it back in and all that crap, I decided I'll just stay here in the water, take out these 2 remaining bolts, then I can grab the coils themselves. I removed those 3 bolts, one here, one there, and one there, and now the coils separate from that backing plate, so you can just kind of push these things down and they'll fall out, and then I can put the new one in its place. Here you can see how this top housing comes off. Basically, when you put the coil in, because of the geometry, you bring it from the bottom, you drop that over the top. It's just like putting your car in the garage. Now I put the bolts back together and we'll have this thing running shortly. When putting these 3 bolts back in, I started at the bottom. I just tucked in that 1 ground wire, and then there are 2 ground wires for the second position, as I mentioned before, and then 3 on the top. So this thing is just loose right now, but I started on the bottom. I just got a thread or 2, then I was able to finagle these where they belong. Now I'll tighten them up. With these 3 on and tight, the next step is to put these nuts on. 1, 2, 3. And these are for the through bolt. And when I put the through bolt in, it's actually threaded over here. So basically the nut is like the suspenders to go with the belt. I guess they put that on there so in case of vibration and whatever, these bolts will never come loose. So now it's time to grab the 3/8 inch box end wrench, tighten these things up. Well, I have everything buttoned up. So it was the green wire to the top, then the ground, and when you're putting these on, you'll know the ground is the one that has that little metal tab. So in my case, it goes green, ground, green and white, ground. You see the top cable comes from the coil to the top spark plug, bottom cable, bottom coil, bottom spark plug. Now it's time to walk around and start this beast up and see how it goes. It started immediately, so that's encouraging. I'll put the cover back on and take it for a ride, see if I can get my 12 miles per hour that she was used to. Well, I had a good plan. But the thing is still missing, it doesn't get up to full speed. My troubleshooting is flawed. Time to buy a power pack. In summary, the video indicates that my troubleshooting was flawed. I did show you how to replace the coils in a 40 horse 1994 forced by Mercury outboard. But until I get a power pack, it seems that motor won't be right. Have a great night.